Businesses have been trying to use technology and software to streamline accounts payable for 30 years or more, dating back into the mid-'80s with the introduction of electronic data interchange, or EDI, where proponents hoped to streamline and automate the exchange of information between trading partners. Now, we've certainly made progress since then, but it seems like, at least to me, technology has kind of plateaued in the last decade. But I think we're starting to see, and hopefully you'll see today, maybe the next phase of evolution for AP automation. Now, we all know that Apple didn't invent MP3s, and they didn't invent the MP3 music player, but they were the first to take these existing technologies and combine them in such a way to create a completely unique and streamlined user experience. And that's what we're starting to see. We're starting to see some existing technologies combined in new ways to create very compelling AP automation solutions that are affordable and maintainable. Now, many of our business processes are getting more and more complicated. AP is certainly no exception. We have multiple content types and formats being thrown at us from multiple delivery channels. We've got paper, of course. We've got EDI we just mentioned, PDF, Word, mobile content. And all of this content is being, or most of this content, is being generated externally. So we have no control over what the format is, what it looks like, and most of the time, how it's even coming into our organization. So once it gets to our organization, internally, we have complex processes to transact this information and turn it into usable information and data. And these processes are changing and evolving as well. Things like regulatory and retention requirements affect those business processes. And often, limited visibility into these processes makes it very tough to measure and improve them. And these days, truly, it takes a village to pay an invoice, especially when your processes are not optimized or even automated. You've got vendors, you've got buyers and requesters, approvers, you've got shipping information, receiving information, auditing and tax information, and so many people and apps and data sources all participate in a typical order to pay or procure to pay process. It's difficult to streamline the flow of information. So, the reasons we need to address these challenges really haven't changed much, and actually boil down to just cost reduction. Cutting paper handling and labor costs that are associated with sorting and shuffling, storing, and retrieving all of this paper. We need to reduce exception processing costs, decrease errors and lost invoices, collect more early pay discounts. And one motivator that seems to be changing quite a bit these days is regulatory compliance. And a lot of the times it's more cost avoidance than it is cost reduction, but it's important. And when we address these challenges, it's going to help reduce our cycle times, it'll decrease the cost per invoice, and ultimately these are going to improve our bottom line, improve our competitiveness, and allow us to free up resources to focus on core business activities. So as we take a look at addressing these challenges, some of the key goals that we're going to want to keep in mind: increasing productivity, and here's where we reduce our cycle times, and especially related to exception processing. In addition to early pay discounts, we can increase our trading partner satisfaction here, kind of a soft productivity enhancement. But these things will position us also, hopefully, for future growth. Another goal: easier risk management. Risk management doesn't have to be rocket science. Proper automation can create process repeatability and improve control of those processes. They also help us minimize errors, reduce bad data and rework, no more lost invoices. We can reduce or eliminate late payments or incorrect payments. And these things help drive down our cost per invoice. This is the obvious key metric here. And all of these contribute to increasing our transactional efficiency and lowering these costs per invoice. And with the right automation solution, you will increase visibility into your accounts payable process. And this allows you to monitor key performance indicators for your business, helping you to make better and faster business decisions and fine-tune this automation process. And Matt will be talking and showing a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation today. So as you consider AP automation solutions for your organizations, I'd like you to keep in mind four key capabilities, as you go out looking. The solution must allow you to automate where and to what level makes sense for your business. So if you're doing 1,000 invoices a month, you're probably going to want to start pretty basic. If you're doing 1,000 invoices a day, you've got more opportunity for cost savings through a more sophisticated automation process. You're going to need to involve humans at some point for some percentage of invoices, regardless of the level of automation that you choose. So select a solution that makes those engagements easy and efficient. Make sure that your solution is reasonably easy to deploy and flexible enough to change with your business needs. We see acquisitions and growth as probably the two biggest catalysts for these types of change. But certainly new regulations can affect business processes, and you're going to want to mature your automation over time, and likely through a phased deployment approach, so kind of eating the elephant one bite at a time. And a good solution has to deliver business continuity and support for compliance, just built in. And it's interesting, we see often the criticality or the mission critical nature of these types of solutions often sneaks up on customers. And systems that start out as kind of productivity enhancements turn into key elements of their financial process. And there's nothing wrong with that unless the technology isn't built to support it. So make sure the systems you're looking at are built for the enterprise. So we're going to dive into some of the AP solution blueprints that we use here at ImageSource. But before we do, I want to caveat this. Every accounts payable process is different, and it's like a custom home. We weave in best practices for the construction. We certainly incorporate lessons learned, but at the end of the day, it's going to look a little different for everyone. So this is actually one of the reasons why it's critical that any automation solution that you look at, it has to be flexible and easily changed to support your specific AP processing model. And it also has to support these future changes that we talked about, including maybe a phased approach to your automation in general. So now, having said that, every AP process is different. We do find that automation solutions typically fall into one of four types, or we call them levels, of automation. And so as we talk about these solutions we're going to start at the simplest and go to the most sophisticated. And that also means we're starting from the lowest return on investment solutions to the highest return on investment solutions. And each one of these, as we go through 1 through 4, build on the preceding solutions. Maybe the whole solution, but certainly key elements of the previous solution. And this is going to help illustrate that a good platform is going to allow you to mature your automation levels over time as needed, without a lot of ripping and replacing of your infrastructure. So starting with the level 1, this is post-process archiving or back-end capture. With an integration to your financial system to deliver appropriate archived content right to your user's desktop with just a single click of a button. We move on to level 2. Here's where we introduce front-end capture coupled with some basic automation, and this is also where we introduce workflow into the business process. Level 3, the workflow gets more robust and extends its reach to involve more people in your organization. And solutions at this level often will deliver the invoice information directly into the financial system, eliminating the manual keying of the information into your financial system. And level 4 is very similar to 3, except that we replace that manual keying of the invoice information with an automated data extraction for both header level and line item detail. So given these 4 levels, you can see that the amount of invoices that you process and the number of people that you have doing those types of activities will probably suggest an appropriate level of automation for your organization. And again, if you're doing 1,000 invoices a month, you're probably looking at a level 1, maybe a level 2. If you're doing 10,000 invoices a week, you're definitely looking at a level 3 or a level 4. So let's peel back the onion here and take a look at each one of these levels individually. Level 1, this is the most basic and inexpensive of the AP automation solutions, but still delivers some good benefits. It provides transactional data archiving, content reuse, secure auditing, and retention management for easier compliance. Financial processing support using content enablement of your transaction. So let's imagine I'm looking at an employee's expense report that they've submitted to me. Wouldn't it be great if I could just click a button and actually see their expense receipts? And then, of course, this type of solution is going to eliminate the physical long-term document storage. We're getting rid of the paper and converting that to electronic. And because of the nature of this type of solution, we have zero disruption to our existing process. So, everything occurs downstream after the information has all been processed through the ERP system and checks have been cut. So it really has zero impact to your current business process. And so here's a Visio-style representation of the flow of information through a level 1 type of solution. First step is to onboard the invoice data. This would be through scanners, most likely, because it's come to the organization through the mail. But it could be faxes or emails. When you're considering solutions, it's important that you look at a solution that's going to support all of those types of on-ramping for that content. I'm sorry. So next we provide minimal index information. So we're looking at the invoice that we've just pulled off a scanner. Now we maybe put some header information into that and then deliver that directly onto the repository. And often we'll connect that information into the financial record. So you can do that using a URL into the image. You can do a coded search enablement mechanism to allow users to bring that information forward. And we've delivered both of these types of integrations, but our preferred mechanism is using a codeless integration like the iLinks Integrate product. And that's kind of depicted there on the far right. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So let's move on to the level 2 AP automation solution. Here we build on all of the capabilities we just talked about in level 1, but it's going to add to the mix front-end capture with some basic invoice process automation. So we're covering not just the back of the process like solution level 1, but we're covering across the entire business process at varying levels. And so with the solution 2, we start to see some really great automation benefits. So we have invoice data that's now immediately available and visible and auditable throughout the entire organization. On average, industry analysts say that about 10% of invoices that we process are going to require some type of special processing or exception processing, and this 10% is going to make up more than 40% of your total AP processing costs. So even if we can achieve some modest gains in exception handling, that can translate into some real measurable return on investment here. These basic processes are going to help us collect more early pay discounts. And these solutions, we're still doing all the coding into the financial system. It's just instead of having a piece of paper laying on our desktop, now we're looking at an image on the screen. So in terms of disruption to the existing process flow, this solution level is still pretty minimal. So a level 2 solution process is going to look something like you see here on the screen. We capture the invoice immediately as it comes into the organization. Again, this can be from scanners, can come off of a fax system, come in through email, or maybe it can be uploaded from your website, a vendor portal, using a tool like the iLinks document upload tool to push some of those costs off outside your walls to your suppliers. The invoice is delivered to your repository, so they're immediately findable and usable throughout your organization. And you may deal with PO-based or non-PO-based invoices. So the workflow is smart enough to know which ones are which, and they can route for approvals or matching or whatever you need to do there. And the workflow is secured at every step in the process, and this is going to facilitate the segregation of duties across your organization for helping to improve your compliance there. The invoice information is then keyed into the financial system from the image instead of a piece of paper. And any exceptions that happen along the way can be immediately routed to the appropriate specialist for correction. And this solution, optionally, can synchronize metadata from the financial system once it's been input back into the repository, and also can create these virtual attachments between the voucher and the invoice image as well. All right, so let's move on to number 3. And number 3, we're going to build on the level 2, but we're going to deliver some additional workflow capabilities. And these new workflow capabilities are going to facilitate things like multi-level approvals, 2- and 3-way matching, and account code assignments. A level 3 solution can also deliver these approved and matched and coded invoice records directly into your ERP system. And we can do this a number of ways. We can do programmatically through web services. Some of the ERP systems support a database interface table, or we can even generate an EDI document that gets consumed by the financial system. And by using injection mechanisms that are fully supported by your ERP vendor or your financial vendor, you can rest assured that the appropriate validation logic still gets fired and still gets enforced once it arrives in your line of business system. So that's critical. We don't want to pull that out into the workflow. We want to leave that in the ERP system. So a level 3 solution workflow is going to engage the appropriate people in the organization. They're going to engage buyers and AP people and managers and others to participate in this process. And they're going to do things like assigning the account codes to the line items. They're going to do matching. They're going to approve or reject payments. They're going to maybe do vendor maintenance and handle other types of exceptions. And the right solution is going to deliver a very streamlined interface for these tasks, an interface that is far easier to tailor than probably any ERP application you're going to find. And additionally, you're not going to have to pay for those ERP licenses for those non-AP experts that you want to bring into the process now. And the original invoice image and all of the supporting documentation are easily available for reference throughout this process. And this would be supporting documents like, if you want to keep a copy of the PO or receipt information to do the matching. You may want to keep quotes or master buying agreements, and all that information can be easily accessible as you're processing this information. All right, finally, we're at a level 4 solution. This is our highest value and most fully automated invoice solution. And really, it's bolting right onto the front of the level 3 that we just talked about. This level 4 solution can eliminate mailroom sorting using document auto-classification, and it can reduce or eliminate manual indexing of header and line item detail using automated data extraction. Automated validation can detect errors like duplicate invoices, invalid supplier or a site, invalid PO, and other issues. And it uses information from your financial system of record to perform this validation in real time. Invoices that fail validation are routed immediately to the appropriate AP specialist based on the type of exception that was found. Now, touch-free processing is the holy grail of invoice automation. And what we'd like to imagine is a world where an invoice is received automatically via fax, it's put into the workflow, it's processed completely without human interaction, and a check is spit out from the financial system. Now, the touch-free invoice happens probably far less than you've been led to believe by software vendors, but it is possible. And in some cases, the percentages are pretty impressive in terms of how many invoices can be processed touch-free. We've witnessed this, but this is an area of cautious optimism here, and we have to be careful about over-promising what a system can deliver. So let's take a look at the workflow here. We see that upfront advanced capture steps that we just talked about, where we're performing those automatic document classification and data extraction. This is going to eliminate all or most of the manual indexing of the invoice information. The invoice and extracted index information is delivered directly to the repository like our other solutions. And the workflow then routes it for any type of exception handling that needs to be done, matching if that's required, approvals, account code assignments. And similar to a level 3 solution, the final invoice information is then delivered directly to your financial system. And the new record is content enabled for future processing and future access. So I'd like to quickly run through how each of these areas of automation can be addressed by components within the iLinks product suite. So we'll start with Capture here. iLinks Capture can onboard any type of content, whether it's from scanners or iPhones and Androids, from your desktop, including your Microsoft Outlook clients. iLinks Import runs in the background, and it can collect and deliver content from your Microsoft Exchange server, from fax systems, file systems. It can include public-facing document upload tool that I mentioned earlier. This can be accessed via a standalone web application, or you can integrate it directly into your vendor self-service portal or website. iLinks Advanced Capture is the technology that performs the automated document classification and data extraction for all of your invoice header and line item information. And iLinks Capture workflow is the engine that orchestrates and animates your business process. And this would be doing things like routing for indexing and approvals, matching, doing your coding, your exception processing, and all other aspects of your business processing. And that can extend well beyond AP. It doesn't have to just be within your accounts payable solution. iLinks Format Converter can transform disparate inbound content formats. So we talked about, getting PDFs and Word and Excel. It can standardize those into a single type of format like a TIFF or PDF. And then iLinks Release can deliver this metadata and this content at any point in the workflow, really, into your repository, which can be iLinks Content Store. It could be IBM FileNet, SharePoint, the Oracle Web Center products, EMC, Kofax, etc. So I mentioned Content Store. iLinks Content Store provides secure and very easy web-based access to any of your enterprise content. And the iLinks Retention Management feature delivers very easy to set up and manage your retention and disposition requirements, whatever they may be. And I've mentioned the iLinks Integrate product several times today. This product allows you to configure integrations between your ERP or financial system and your content system without writing a single line of code. And I know that's hard to believe, but this is just a great product. It delivers through these codeless integrations. It delivers contextual content directly to your line of business users with just a click of a button. All right, so visibility and insight are critical to the success of any of these AP automation solutions that we've talked about today. So now we'd like to take a couple of minutes and dive a little deeper into the business intelligence area. I think Matt's ready to show us a quick demo of a solution that's built specifically for accounts payable analytics.
I guess just to give everyone a little bit of background, this is something that comes from a product from the company I work for. I work for Kofax, and we purchased a company called AltoSoft a couple of years ago. And what we've done with the AltoSoft solution, is a BI and analytics platform, is we've taken that platform and actually applied it to several different business processes that we're very familiar with, things like document capture, invoice processing, which is the one that we're looking at today. And the purpose behind doing that is to pick up on some of the things that we've mentioned already, which is that the whole point of this type of technology is for process improvement, whether it's spotting things like compliance issues or whether it's purely to do with cost saving and efficiency. The only way we can really truly understand how we're performing in that world is if we start to measure and understand how our processes are performing. So what the analytics solution does, and you can see an example here on screen, is it takes our entire process right from end to end throughout all of the technology that you've seen presented so far today, through all of those different tiers that Randy mentioned, but also out into those ERP systems as well, and gathering data from those systems, actually presenting that all in one place on screen to give us the key performance indicators and the statistics that are really required to manage and to run our process. So what you have on screen here is an example of how this could look for you. And again, I'll kind of caveat this with the same one that Randy mentioned earlier on around everybody's is slightly different. So, these are some of the best practices that we've used with some of our other customers, but yours might look slightly different. Is that this is the type of solution that you can achieve by using both the iLinks solutions in compatibility with the solution you're looking at here, which is all around the analytics. So what we've done is we've put together a bunch of key performance indicators that we know are very relevant to somebody doing accounts payable and invoice processing. So we have this kind of overview page here that you can see, and this presents to us some key indicators that somebody maybe in a management position might be really interested in. So, what's going on in my process at the moment? Currently, how many have we processed? How many invoices have we rejected? What's our daily invoice count? How many have we approved so far today? What's our turnaround time? How long does it take to get these invoices through the process? Those are some of the really key metrics that you would really start to look at as part of this invoice process. Digging a little deeper into that, we can then start to look at how we can better improve our process. So payment cost versus discount by employee. This is an example of where we've taken our different employees that are part of the process, maybe the accounts payable clerks, and we've been able to say, right, well, tell me how they're performing from a speed perspective. How many of them are achieving their early discounts? How many are suffering from their late payment penalties because we're not processing these invoices quickly and within enough time? And again, this allows us to start to drive the efficiency of the process. Something very relevant down here is our cost exposure. How many invoices do we have in our system that are unpaid, and what is their value? What is the value of these unpaid invoices within our system? Because that's our cost exposure. That's how much cost we've got within our organization that we know we're about to receive, but actually we haven't yet approved and gone on to pay. So that's a liability for us. Where it gets quite interesting is this one down here. So if we imagine that our invoice process is made up of lots and lots of different steps, a full invoice process can go in all sorts of different directions. But what we actually have here is the ability to monitor and track how long it's taking to go through each of these activities. And this is really important because this allows us to start to spot bottlenecks within our operation and start to identify where we need to apply maybe some raw resources, or we maybe need to go and go motivate our staff that are doing these particular items. But what you can see here very clearly with this coloring is we can start to identify which processes need that help, which processes need to be helped along here, and we can see the different color coding lends itself to that kind of traffic light system. Now, the important thing here is that we're not just logging into the dashboard to show us that this is happening. We can actually proactively alert people as well that these particular thresholds are being breached. So we can say, when it goes past 30 minutes to process a particular, to go through one of these particular processes, send someone an alert. Maybe it's not quite a problem yet. We've not reached this kind of red threshold here where it's a problem, but we can start warning you that something is slowing down. And this is a key part of that invoice process. All this wonderful and fantastic technology that we've spoken about already today, but a lot of the time it's the people behind that technology that could do with some extra help and maybe some more training or motivation or whatever it might be. So identifying and spotting that is a key part of this solution. So we've got quite a few other dashboard components here that we're not really going to have time to go through all of them. But if we imagine our process goes through the document capture world where we have our incoming mailbags here and we can see where our invoices are coming from. Maybe it's not just mailbags, but all of the different electronic channels that we've been speaking about. We've then got our document capture world, so we can start to understand about the quality of the capture, of whether it's extraction and separation and validation or classification, or indeed our people. So how much time that our different operators are spending doing certain activities. We can give you a benchmark view of those as well. Now, the other interesting thing as we move through this process, whether it's the document capture process, the workflow process, or in this case down to the final archive, is at any point we can also link out to the image. So in our case here, we're looking at our physical document archive that shows us all of our documents that have been stored. What I can do is actually sort that by our number of retrievals, and I can see that we've got a couple of documents here that have been retrieved an awful lot of times. So there may be something wrong with these images that we need to try and figure out what's going on. Of course, I can click the View Document button, that link button there, and that's going to drop out to that image and show me that, no wonder we're retrieving this a whole number of times. That's actually, pretty poor quality image, and maybe this one here, we'll go out to see that one. And again, we can see that image there. Maybe we've chopped the top off that invoice and we need to go and rescan it. So the key thing with this is that at all parts of the process, we have that complete visibility. So whether it's in the document archives, whether it's in the capture world, whether it's in our incoming mailbags, or indeed within our accounts payable solution, we can start to understand exactly what's going on with these invoices at any point in the process. So here again is another example. Invoice total by supplier. Which of our suppliers do we owe the most money to? Invoices by business unit. You can see this heat map we've got here to tell us that HR are the people that are placing the most invoices. And again, down here by department within our organization, we can see which of our accounts payable clerks are processing the number of invoices for each of those different areas. So just one final thing before I hand back. What this actually is telling us is that the individual parts of the process can be monitored as you've seen here. So we're gathering all of this information, we're putting it into really feature-rich and interactive dashboards. But what I actually want to show you here is where we piece all of those together into one single view, and that's in our process intelligence view. So what this is actually doing is reconstructing the entire document process, all the way from original receipts, whether it's in a mail bag or from a fax or an email or whatever it might be, all the way through to the final archive. And that's going all the way through the extraction process, the validation process, into an invoice matching engine if one is relevant, then going through the approval process. Maybe we reject some of the invoices, we send them for the line coding, we release the payment, it's paid in the ERP system, and then we go to archive. So the purpose behind process intelligence is to reconstruct exactly what's happened and what's happening at the moment for all of our invoices. And I just want to give you an example of where that's quite important. What I can do is I can right-click anywhere on the chart here, and I can introduce what's called a process filter. And what this does is actually allows me to go and search for specific instances of processes I'm trying to understand. So let me give you an example. Let's say, show me where all of the invoices where a step exists of paid in the ERP system, so we paid the invoice, but we're missing the step of approving it. So that's a bit of a problem. So let's just think about that for a second. We've paid the invoice, but we haven't approved it. We're missing the step of approval. Well, in theory, that should never happen, but if I click on that, we can see that there were 26 cases where that happened. And if I can click on that, and I can go down into that 26 there, I can see they all came from rejected. So paid in ERP was 26 of them came from rejected. So if I can click on that, it then shows me the individual invoices where that's happened. And if we look at the AP clerk here, it's the same AP clerk every single time. So what that allows me to do is allows me to spot individual instances of compliance risk, possibly even fraud, but certainly inefficiencies within my process. You know, why is this happening? Who's performing it? Why is it actually going on in this particular way? And if I go back to my process chart, that maintains that filter for me, and you can see exactly what's going on. So there's a lot more to this, and obviously I don't want to take up too much time on the webinar today, but I just wanted to introduce to you the concept of analytics within an invoice process, within an accounts payable process. It's so important to be able to measure the way the process is running, because if we don't measure it, we don't know if we're improving it. So a key part of any solution is the analytics and really understanding exactly how our invoice processing is running, and that's what we wanted to share with you today. So I'll hand it back over to Randy and Kim, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
And we've got a couple of questions that came in. Could an AP automation system like this include steps for check signers to do invoice verification?
Yeah, so I think by that you're probably talking about someone who's finishing up the process, checks are being ready to be mailed out, they have to sign it, and they want to verify the invoice. So yeah, absolutely, that could be part of the workflow process, so they could be automatically alerted when a particular check run is about to be released, and maybe an email gets sent to them with a list of all the images, so it's ready for them just to click through and verify all of the checks against the invoices. Or it could just be simply going into the content repository and running a search for that information that's been synchronized with the financial system. So check run numbers or check numbers associated with the invoices that have been synchronized into the repository. Yeah, either way, that could certainly be part of the process.
Does iLinks have the ability to do electronic sign-offs?
Electronic sign-off, so like digital signatures. iLinks doesn't have that capability built in out of the box, but one of the key aspects of iLinks is that it's very flexible, and the workflow can be constructed and modified very easily, like we've talked about today, which is a critical need in these types of solutions. So we do have customers that have integrated external signing technologies like an e-sign or a VeriSign, and that's actually part of the reason why we haven't built anything into the product, is we find that those requirements vary significantly, whether it's needing a true external digital signature type of capability, or they're just looking for a digital wet signature essentially. So we really haven't built anything into the product, but certainly we've delivered solutions that integrate those types of technologies, and that's quite doable.
And Randy, we've got somebody that would like you to clarify what you're meaning by auto document classification.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's a good question. So, we talked about advanced capture and the ability to do auto document classification and data extraction. The auto classification technology, it's pretty slick stuff. And this is really important when you look at industries like financial institutions that are processing loans, for instance, especially a home loan, where you could have 200 to 300 different document types in a single loan package. And so the sorting of a document package like that is very, very time consuming. So employing a technology like document auto classification allows you to set one of these huge loan packages on a scanner and hit go, and it's routed through a series of intelligent capture steps where it examines each one of the pages of the document, and it does a couple of different types of recognition. There's some kind of overall page pattern recognition that goes on from a visual perspective, as well as key phrase analysis. But ultimately, the goal is that the advanced capture solution can identify each page that you've scanned and put those together within the same document. So here's a W-2, here's a 2013 tax statement, here's a credit memo, or a credit report. So the system can automatically classify that. So that takes a lot of the load off the mailroom or whomever is sorting those inbound documents. Now, in a purely AP process, that's something that may or may not provide a ton of value, but as we talked about from a loan processing perspective, there's a lot of return on investment if the system can identify those documents up front.
Okay, thanks, Randy. Thanks, Matt. And I just want to thank you guys again for tuning in, and Matt and Randy for joining us. We really appreciate you speaking today, and we wish everybody a great day. Thank you very much.